My 18 female dad recently married a woman who has a nearly adult daughter. She has no friends, and they always insist I include her in everything and take her with me when I go out with my friends. Just imagine how annoying that is. Anyway, a week ago, it was my birthday, and I planned to go to a restaurant with all my friends. She asked if she could come, and I said no. They insisted. I said fine, but with the condition that I wouldn't give her a ride, as I was planning to give a ride to a bunch of my friends. She agreed. I told her that we were going to X restaurant at 6. Well, we weren't planning to go there. We went to another restaurant. She called in the middle of the party and asked why we weren't there yet. I told her we would be late and just wait there. Then I turned off my phone. Well, I came back home and found her and her mom so angry. They were yelling at me for an hour, calling me a bunch of names. But I think she deserved it for not taking no for an answer. Am I the idiot for giving the wrong information to my stepsister? You are the idiot, and you know it. You're adult enough to come up with this plot to embarrass and exclude a girl who's trying to be your friend but can't just tell her, your dad or stepmom, no? You chose the meanest, least reasonable way to deal with this, and you're clearly directing your anger at your dad on this girl because you're too cowardly to draw a boundary with your dad. Grow up. You deserve all the karma you reap here. Exactly. You knowingly sent a teen girl to the wrong place alone. Then you doubled down and told her you were running late and turned your phone off while laughing with your friends about it, insisting that no, she was not invited would have been fine. Choosing to humiliate someone, laugh at them, and put them in a potentially dangerous situation is wretched. I get it. You were annoyed. Annoyance is not an excuse to behave as absolutely atrociously as you did. Humiliating someone is not okay. Lying to an underage girl and having them wait somewhere alone is not okay. I imagine it was traumatic for her, and this will stick with her forever. You never should have said it was okay. You never should have given her a different location. You should have just told her the truth. I disagree. Everyone's the idiot. They shouldn't be forcing OP to take stepsister with her every time. But what OP did was not right. No one can insist you invite someone to your birthday. You must be clear that you don't want to hang out with her, and they have no right to force you. OP is 18 and incredibly condescending to someone who's less than a year younger than her. OP, you're an adult, right? Do you want to be treated like an adult? Take accountability for your crappy, immature actions. You're the idiot. Gigantic. Have a mature talk with your dad instead of pulling this immature, mean crap. So what's the mature thing to do when someone doesn't take no for an answer? Suddenly no means no is not applicable? What OP did is definitely mean, but she had no choice. Stepsis is a teen, old enough to take no for an answer and not be running to mommy and daddy over it. My stepdad, who I, 24 female, called dad most of my life, is the only dad I ever knew. He met my mom when I was only 1, and they got married right after my second birthday. So I literally have no memories of my life without him. And I would say most of my life I saw him as my dad, and not my stepdad. He was the male figure who raised me and who was there, but I was never equal to his bio kids. He would call me his stepdaughter when asked how many kids he had. I heard him say it, even when I was little. I always called him dad or him and my mom my parents. It hurt a lot when I was younger. My younger sister was often called my first baby girl by him. My younger brother was called his firstborn. And while technically they are his first bio son and daughter, I was always expected to treat him like my real dad, but he wasn't claiming me as his real daughter. Things started to change for me when I was 16. One of my friends called him my stepdad, but I didn't correct him. My stepdad overheard, and he told me he was hurt that after all he'd done for me, I let him be delegated to the lesser title of stepdad. I told him I was his stepdaughter most of the time, so why shouldn't he be my stepdad? My stepdad was still good to me. It was just, some things really hurt when I was younger, and some things made me angry when I was older, like the incident above. I talked to him and my mom about it and was gaslit into believing he didn't say stepdaughter, or he'd say that sometimes it's important to distinguish. But none of these were doctor appointment incidents. It would have been easier if he had been consistent with the not my kid for me. At least then, I wouldn't have been so confused and hurt as a younger kid. My grandparents noticed. What took their notice most was when I was 8, and I was worried I couldn't be his real daughter. I asked my stepdad to adopt me, and he changed the subject. My stepdad's parents and 2 siblings were also there, and they looked shocked that I'd asked. I was never called a granddaughter by his parents or a niece by his siblings, but they were grandma and grandpa and auntie and uncle to me. Maternal grandpa really stepped up for the emotional support when COVID restrictions happened, and my fiance and I moved in with him temporarily since he was alone, and he knew we wanted to be in a home and not a cramped apartment, which is why when I got engaged, I asked grandpa to walk me down the aisle. My stepdad was angry and offended again, and he told me as much. I brought up how much he talked about watching his 2 little girls get married, my 2 sisters, and never his 3. So why would he be taking on such a big task for his not little girl? He told me I was being so nitpicky, and I told him he was a hypocrite to treat me as not a daughter, but expect to be treated as a dad. He told me I didn't know the meaning of the word, and I should be more appreciative of all the things he gave me. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Of course he did. Just keep reminding yourself that bullies are bullies, and they will never change. You're getting married, starting a new family with your husband. Let that be enough. Hopefully your relationship with your mom and sibling is good and will remain that way. As for his little speeches, ignore them or tell him to stop being so emotional. You can also point out that he'll have the opportunity of walking his first baby girl down the aisle, so your event obviously won't be meaningful and special to him. I disagree. Mother's an idiot too. Don't invite your mom and him to your wedding. Your wedding should be attended by people who love and advocate for you. And your mom's always put a man before you. Gross. Your mother's awful for allowing this treatment of you and then continuing to breed with him. Yikes. I hope your siblings don't have their behavior or attitude. Congratulations on your upcoming wedding, and hope you and your grandpa have a wonderful walk down the aisle. I should be more appreciative of everything he gave me. Does he mean all the things responsible adults give their children and stepchildren? Food, shelter, clothing, etc.? That's their job. It's what we sign up for when we become parents and step-parents. He set the tone. He doesn't get to change the tune to enjoy the spoils of being a dad when it suits him. Geez, send him a Hallmark thank you card and call it a day. My wife, 32, is pregnant and has her emotional and physical struggles. Add a scoop of annoyance and silliness too. Frankly, I'm tired sometimes and need to know if I did anything wrong here. I, 35 male, am a professional and right now very busy. My wife has her fair share of mood swings and hormonal cravings, and we try to get by, most of the time, except when she expects me to read her mind. It's a constant point of our discussions, she initiated, because she feels I don't do stuff for her unless asked, which I disagree with. I bring her flowers, plan our dates, give her massages out of the blue when I feel like I want to show my love for her. On the other hand, she expects me to have the clairvoyance to know she's craving a box of donuts when she calls me at work, saying, I wish I had something sweet to eat. All the cookies are finished. Or I want to fix a chicken sandwich right now, but there are no patties left. You see where I'm at? She feels that this is her way of communicating things with me. And if I really loved her and knew her, I'd understand. I disagree with her and tell her she needs to be direct with me if she wants me to bring home something for her. This is followed by her disappointed look and heavy sighs. Recently, something similar happened, and she got angry at me as to why I didn't offer to drive her to get some ice cream for her after dinner. This time I didn't sit and listen to her blame me and told her if she was going to act like a child, maybe she wasn't equipped to be a mom yet. This must have cut deep, but I'm honestly exhausted by her behavior, and I really don't want to put so much unnecessary pressure on myself. I want a partner. Pretty sure babies can't communicate with adults, and it's up to me as a dad to understand if they're crying because they're hungry, sick, or uncomfortable. I don't want my partner who expects the same as a baby. Maybe I don't prioritize what she says she wants because, honestly, during the workday, I have a lot on my mind. So anyone just venting to me or a simple text isn't something I retain in my memory for a long time. So after what I said, my wife has just been giving me the silent treatment, and I'm not going to grovel when I know I've done nothing wrong. I simply ignored it, and it's been 3 days now, and I've gone on about my day like nothing happened. Clearly, the lack of attention and concern for our negligible communication has had an effect on her, and she's been demanding an explanation from me, if I even care about our relationship. I told her that I'm not bothered if she's upset right now over something that shouldn't even be an issue, and I don't care about her validation anymore. She teared up, looked at me with shock, and went back to our room. Did I go too far? Not the idiot. Pregnancy isn't a free pass to act like an idiot or a child, throw fits, and not communicate effectively. She's responsible for her emotions and actions. I hope this wasn't her behavior, even before she got pregnant. That's terrible communication and a bad environment to raise a child. Be glad you stood your ground. It had to be said eventually. Is she like this to colleagues, friends, her parents? I'd wager not. This means she can help it, even if she's pregnant, but chooses to only be rude and berating to you because she takes you for granted. What reaction did you expect from your wife when you said she acts like a child and is not equipped to be a mom yet? She annoys you by not communicating properly, so you decide to attack her personally? Solving a problem by creating more problems typically doesn't work. You're both adults. You're both allowed to have your own thoughts and feelings. Your pregnant wife says she wishes there was something sweet to eat. I think the response is, how can I help? Not, why are you bothering me? You chose to attack her, not the problem. Your words were intended to hurt. You got what you wanted. Now she's hurt. Own your own participation in this situation. Everyone's the idiot. If this is how you both communicate, neither of you is ready to be parents. My wife is extremely picky about what meat she eats. She'll usually only eat chicken and fish. Red meat she refuses to eat or cook, which is fine. Tomorrow my family's having a barbecue. I volunteer to bring the brisket. Smoking a brisket takes 12 to 18 hours, and the meat needs to be thawed. It takes about 24 hours to thaw completely in the fridge. My job called me out on a Monday to a site, and problems caused me to stay for over 2 nights. I was planning to use the frozen brisket from the freezer, but it needed to be thawed out beforehand. I bought a fourth of a cow and I froze it so I wouldn't have to buy red meat for a year. On Tuesday, I realized that my job would keep me and asked my wife to move the brisket from the freezer to the fridge so it could thaw out, a task that would have taken 1 minute. She told me okay, and I thought that was it. I came home today and it wasn't in the fridge. It was still in the freezer as hard as a rock. I can't use it. So I go to the store and have to buy one. I asked my wife why she didn't do what I asked, even though she agreed to. She told me she thought it was gross, so she didn't. This started an argument. I'm angry that she agreed to do me a simple favor and then didn't, and had to buy one from the store. I told her she needed to pay me back for what I bought. She thinks I'm being a huge jerk and overreacting. Edit. We have a shared account for the bills and whatnot. The meat came out of my account, which is why I want her to pay me back. Not the idiot. You asked for a favor, which she agreed to, then didn't do it. So she lied to you. Then you had to go out of your way to buy a new one so it could be cooked on time, which briskets could be cheaper. She should pay you back. Also, she showed that she can't be trusted with basic things. You're right, it would take a single minute. I don't know what else there is to say. This is extremely baffling. Does she have an actual phobia of cow meat or something? Even saying that the task would take a single minute is an exaggeration, unless you have a freezer in a different location from your fridge. This would take seconds. She could have worn oven mitts to avoid touching it. But so many of these stories remind me why I'm so happily single. I would have no patience for someone who did this, and then I would feel petty for being enraged about something so minute. It's not about the request or take it out of the freezer, but did she expect to sabotage the barbecue? In my opinion, she probably did. Can't take a wrapped piece of meat out of the freezer? That's ridiculous, no. She doesn't like beef. She doesn't want other people eating it. I expect we would hear stories of her being controlling in other ways too, whenever she gets the chance. Sabotaging a barbecue is such a long shot. I feel OP isn't telling about all the other things she does because she wants to see how much he loves her despite her antics. Why did you marry a child though? Sounds like she needs to grow up. My son Tommy died suddenly 6 years ago. He was recently discovered with 2 kids with his ex-wife. The kids were young grammar schoolers at the time of their dad's death. The kids and Tommy lived with us for a year at one point. Tommy's ex, Marla, was serving time after she stole from Tommy, from a friend of Tommy's, and from my husband and myself. It delayed the divorce, so they had been separated for more than 2 years, and the separation started when Tommy learned that Marla had cheated. We learned about the stealing after, and she stole from us after the separation. All in all, Marla stole close to $35K between us all. Marla had recently been released and started back with 50-50 custody of the kids when Tommy died. After Tommy died, Marla attempted to cut our family out of the lives of my grandchildren. My husband and I went to court and were awarded very generous grandparents' visitation under the grandparents' rights of our state. Marla was furious. She tried to appeal, but it was rejected twice. The relationship between us was not civil, so we kept it simple and only communicated pickup times. Dates were already specified. Marla remarried and now has additional children. Marla has asked us a few times to include her other children. We ignore the request. She's yelled at us when we pick up our grandchildren and doesn't care if they hear. We stay silent generally. My husband and I have no wish to be a part of her other children's lives or to play any sort of role in her and her current husband's life. We have a relationship with our grandkids. They're close to us as we are to them, and they've never asked us to include their half-siblings. So we keep things as they are. Last week, my grandson had a school talent show that they wanted us to attend, so we did. Marla and her husband were with their kids, but we sat apart. When the kids finished and returned to their classrooms, and as we were leaving, Marla approached and asked us to please think of her other kids and start acting like grandparents. We stayed civil and refused. Marla called us monsters. She said we were hideous monsters for turning our backs on her and her other kids just because she moved on after Tommy. She accused us of cruelty to children. She was very loud. I lost my temper and told her if she had wanted us in her life, she wouldn't have cheated on our son and stolen from him, his friend, and us, and ended up going to prison. I told her we owed her nothing, and we owed her children nothing, and she needed to accept that our grandkids would always be our grandkids, but she was no longer part of our family. Marla reacted to others hearing this and told me I had no right to air her dirty laundry publicly, that I should have kept that out of our mutual dispute. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She actively tried to stop you from visiting your grandchildren and is now complaining that you're not grandparents to her other children? She's obviously unhinged. I wouldn't let what she says bother you, unless it hurts the children. Marla wanted to publicly shame OP and her spouse, and is now angry because they pulled a reverse Uno card on her. Do we go with people living in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, or the pot calling the kettle, or karma's a witch? In normal circumstances, this likely would not happen, but she attacked you and made serious and wrong accusations in public. Could you have held back? Maybe, but this does not make you an idiot. She is oblivious until it affects her. She probably had no remorse about stealing until a court ordered her to pay restitution. I hope she was ordered to repay you. It doesn't sound like she cares about consequences and will howl when faced with them.